Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us today. SEMA 2024 was filled with hundreds of incredible vehicles, but we're here to talk about two turbo Regals that stole the show. Let's start off with introductions. My name is Bernie Charles. I've been wrenching and restoring cars for about 20 years. I spent thousands of hours specifically restoring turbo Regals, and I've brought you all along for the ride in over 100 episodes on this very YouTube channel. The first car my dad drove in this country was a Buick Regal, and I have been enamored with these cars ever since. Really excited to speak to Dev about this and all things Turbo Regal. So I'll hand it over to Dev for introductions.
My name is Devin Watts, owner of Watts Performance Solutions, and we specialize in 1986, 1987 Buick Grand Nationals. Whether you want something mild, if you got, let's say you got a low mile Buick Grand National and you want to do some maintenance on it and get it back around. We'll do anything from that to the complete opposite extreme. If you want to make 1,000+ horsepower, we'll do that. But we only specialize in Buick Grand Nationals. That's all we do. That's all we know. That's all we love.
Really excited to have you on the show, Dev. We spent over 6 hours looking at both cars on SEMA and speaking to people integral to their creation, and we have a lot to discuss. Now, if you all like this type of content, smash that like button. It allows us to connect with more car enthusiasts, and consider subscribing to not only this channel, but also the Watts Performance channel for more and more videos. So let's start off with these car introductions. We have two Buick Regal builds here. First is Invadr. It's a Ring Brothers and Interior Unlimited build with a twin-turbo 3.8 V6 from Duttweiler Performance. Peak horsepower is estimated at 1,900 horsepower at 50 pounds of boost, but dialed down to 1,246 and 32 pounds. The V6 is mated to a Bowler Tremec 6-speed manual.
So on the other hand, we've got a 2024 Buick Grand National GNXs, which, by the way, it's not a Grand National, and it's definitely not a GNX because they only made 547 of those. This is something that Angelo, who's the owner of this car, Angelo reimagined and remanufactured his version of the GNX. He looked at it as if he was the manufacturer today. And if he was the manufacturer today, how would he rebuild the Grand National GNX? And so it's powered by a V8 LS 427 twin turbo engine, and the transmission is a Bowler 4L80E. The car was built by Dutch boys, and the interior was done by Avant-Garde Designs.
Now, I'm really happy you touched on that, Dev. I'm really interested to dive deep into the Dutch boys build. But first, let's start off with the first impressions. Now, what was your first impression of that Ring Brothers design?
I'm going to just hit some highlights on here, but first impressions, this was a car that was set up to enjoy. They kept it true to the Grand National with keeping the V6 engine, and I thought it was a beautiful build. So I do this for a living. I look at 86, 87 Grand Nationals every single day. Right now, I've got about 20 of them that we're working on right now. When I saw the Ring Brothers build, something I never saw before. I looked at it, I was like, dang, my jaw was dropped for a while just looking at it. I looked at it for over 5 hours and just looked at it from the bottom, blown away. And for me, when I look at builds, I look at the purpose. How does the owner intend to use it? And so looking at it, this car was set up to make big power. This car was set up to enjoy. This car is set up to perform on all different types of landscapes. And so I think it's an amazing build. From the engine, Duttweiler, you did your thing, man. That engine is incredible. And I got to hear it in person as well. That cam in there, oh my gosh, that cam is rowdy. So I know the engine is set up to perform. And then also, I like how it had the jacks on it to be able to work on the car. So for those that don't know, if you got a Grand National, you're always going to be working on it. I don't care who built it. So those jacks that are on there allows you to get that car off the ground, really service it. So it's just set up. The way the car is set up for you to be able to enjoy it. Servicing the car is one of the most important things. Like, you can have it looking good and clean, but if it takes you forever to just get to one bolt, then you're going to be cussing yourself out at the end of the day.
Yes, well said. I remember walking up to it, seeing it raised up on those lifts, peeking inside, looking at that sleek interior, and then the serious power plant. Yeah, I was very impressed with those elements to it. The interior, we'll start off with that. When people talk about reimagining a Grand National, it's easy for them to go off the deep end and take away elements that make it intrinsically what it is. The whole thing about a G-body and a Turbo Regal specifically is angular lines, sharp lines here. And the interior is no exception. But the way that they were able to modernize it and still make it distinguishably a Grand National
Yeah.
is pretty impressive. I think that goes in the way that they recovered everything. They even put on the top layer to the top of the dashboard, and they didn't step too far away and then custom make a center console and all of that stuff. They brought in modern stitching, but they kept to the lines of it, and it's very tastefully done. So I was definitely impressed with those elements to it. The lifts are something that I haven't seen on any G body specifically yet. So kudos.
To see that these builders and to see that our cars, this is 2 years back to back. Look at Savaggio's Grand National that he built for Kevin Hart. These cars are starting to get invested in heavily. So the road is being paved at a new level. You know, we're accustomed to seeing 55 Bel Airs, 57 Bel Airs get 10,000 plus hours invested into them. So we're now seeing for the first time $1 million Grand Nationals. This is happening.
That's an interesting concept. Very interesting concept. And that's a perfect segue to hop into this next one.
Okay.
Now, what was your first impression on the Dutch Boys build?
Oh, man. This car ruined my SEMA. I had plans. I didn't even know this car was there. I had not been following. I didn't know anything about it. I specifically went to SEMA to go to the educational classes. I went to SEMA to look at different systems to make my business more efficient. But when I saw this car, I spent over 8 hours looking at it. Yeah, I combed over this car to look and see, wow, this is what giving it your all looks like. This is what reimagining something, this is what taking a thought and transitioning to an action looks like. This is what bringing the best hands in the world together looks like. So I was blown away, still am blown away, meeting the owner Angelo and Paul, the builder of the car. It takes a relationship with the owner and the builder. You gotta collaborate and build something like what they have built. Blown away.
Wow, just wow. If Buick can take that exterior and put it on a showroom floor, they would have a hit. We are the Turbo Regal community. We've seen our renderings of modern versions, stuff that integrates the 2012 Buick Regal into 1987. They paint it black and they plaster it online and they say, oh, well, this is how it would look. That is the furthest thing from any of our minds when we see a modern day looking Buick. What we just saw at SEMA would sell out the door. And I don't think you would have a Grand National owner that would be mad at the way that that car looked.
Yeah.
Now, I've never heard of Dutch Boys before this, but I will never forget them after this. I can tell you that. They are a talented group, and it really shined through with that build. The stance, the paint, the wheels, all of the tasteful modifications, it just put it at a level above in my mind. And I understand if you're at home, if you didn't attend SEMA and you're looking at short clips and pictures to try to compare these two, it will not do it justice. Just going back to how long we took a look and spoke to people and studied these cars in person, there's things that you'll go back and look at that you didn't see the first time. There's so much subtlety, but so much intent with these designs. It's heartwarming to see other folks take that level of attention to detail and pour it into the cars that we know are special, that other people are now finding out how special they are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost too nice to drive.
Let's talk about that. So think about the purpose of this car. You got to go back to purpose when you go to compare. Is it too nice to drive? That was a question that somebody asked me on Facebook, and they said, the question was, at what point does a car become a rolling showpiece versus something that you can actually enjoy? And my response back is, there's different levels of different cars. You don't take a Bugatti to the same place you take a Ferrari, and you don't take a Ferrari the same place that you take a Honda Civic. So there's different cars and different purposes for cars. And this car right here is at the level of a supercar. You can't take this car on country roads where speed bumps are and it's going to hit it and tear up the front end. That's one of my things I would have done differently on the car. I would have put it on air shocks to raise the suspension up a little bit more. But right now it's currently on coilovers. That may be something they can address in the future.
Along the same lines on this Dutch Boys build, Was it worth removing a good 231 to put in this 427 V8? I know you mentioned earlier the conversation with Angelo and his vision, but I want to hear your thoughts behind it.
Again, I go back to purpose. Let's make a 2024 Buick Grand National GNXs, and let's create it where it not only outstyles but outperforms everything else on the road. If you want to compete with the new Corvette that just came out, you better have something powerful. And a V6 ain't gonna cut it, guys. You better have what they put in this car right here, an LS 427 twin turbo car. And that brings the essence together of what Buick did back in 1987. They built something that outperformed everything on the road at its time. So you have to have something that can outperform to keep the Grand National essence alive. When I drive my car on the street, people do not play with me. And if they do, fuck around and find out quickly that this ain't what they want to play with. So could he have done it with a V6? Sure. It would have had to be something radical like what the Ring brothers did. But the Ring brothers engine, turned up versus turned up, can't compete with Angelo's build. It's a V8 427. That's a whole different level of opportunity of power. So to finalize and recap, was pulling out the 231, was that a good move? Looking at the purpose of the build, yes, it was a good move. Is it going to be frowned upon and everybody hated? That's a Grand National enthusiast. Oh yeah, the Grand National enthusiasts they're going to frown upon that until they understand the purpose. I'm a purist at heart, and I love the V6, and I wouldn't do it to my car. But looking at what they were trying to do, and this is a one-of-one build. This is a GNXs, not a Grand National. It's not a GNX. This is a one-of-one custom build, remanufactured by Dutch Boys and Angelo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you're coming from people who have not put V8s in their turbo Regals, okay? So that's our vote with our car, built to our purpose, right? Was the Dutch Boys build worth removing a 231? I say yes, simply because the rest of the car was that impressive. Now, hearing Angelo's reasoning, it helps put things in perspective. The choice to remove a 3.8 will always be a controversial one. To me, the allure of a Grand National is more than the menacing look and the sleek black paint. The power plant was very unassuming, especially to those who didn't know. But once you knew about the potential of these cars, owners enjoyed showing Corvettes and Fox bodies what the business was. It's part of the reason they still command the respect that they do to this day. Now, we have GTRs making 2,000 horsepower and Kenny Duttweiler's build making just shy of that. There's nothing stopping anyone from making V8 power out of a V6 other than money. The Duttweiler engine took 2 years to build. I'm sure it had a pretty price tag on it.
What do you think that cost?
The only question is how deep into the six figures it cost. You know, when we're looking at the components, the labor hours to put it together, and then once it got back to Ring Brothers, the Ring Brothers did the manifolds, they did the heat shrink, the heat wrap, and all of that good stuff. So I know it's over $100,000 easily. But just being said, the reason why I say the build was worth it is just because of the craftsmanship that went into it. On the screen right now, there's a short list of modifications that Dutch Boys incorporated, and it's not even an all-inclusive list because there's so much more than, even meets the eye. So yes, it's worth it. This car is doing so much for the community, even allowing us to be able to talk about this. It's worth removing the V6. All right, so with all that being said, the next question is, which one would we own and why? But no surprise, I would own the Dutch Boys build. I would crank up those coilovers to a better ride height, and I would PPF every inch of that car. It'd be my Sunday driver, and it'd only see perfect weather in cars and coffee. So everything in my garage gets driven, so this one is no exceptions. People may not want something to drive that's this nice, but if man can make it, man can break it, and man can fix it again. Now, I spoke to Michael. He was the lead fabricator on this build, and he said the engine bay was his Mona Lisa. And I totally believe him. The lack of fasteners across the inner fender well, the hand-built closeout panels, that custom wiper cowl, these are just some of the things that just elevated the build in my mind. You know, the integrated fender flares, and they even widened the quarters a bit to tuck those massive wheel and tire packages underneath it. The curvature on the roof, it all just comes together to a car that just it seems to be floating, especially when you look at the last quarter of it. So it's an easier decision to me to go with the Dutch Boys build. But you know, we talked a little bit earlier about purpose-built builds, so definitely want to get your thoughts on that.
So if I had to own one of the two cars, I would have to go with the Ring Brothers. Why the Ring Brothers? Because I can enjoy that car a lot easier in a lot of different ways. And what I mean by that is, yes, the car is nice and as close to perfect as it can be. But sometimes you just want to hop in the car and not have to worry about scratching up the door. And just the Dutch Boys car is just so perfect in every way. I would be more afraid of damaging something while driving it. And then the cost to repair. Yes, man can fix it. Yes, man can easily break it. But I was just like, if I had to own it, which one could I more easily repair? Which one could I drive and just rip up the roads and just totally just, I mean, if I own the Ring Brothers car, I'll be getting that car right now, just tearing it. You know, you got to work on them. I don't care any high performance car. You need to know how to work on it. That's the hard truth that people don't like to accept. You have to know how to work. You have to know all the details about your build, number one, and then number two, when it's time to do some maintenance, have access to the builders or have access to the knowledge yourself so you can do the maintenance on it.
So that brings us to our next segment. There are elements of both of these vehicles that are just above and beyond in both of our minds. So why not take the opportunity to mix and match elements of these two vehicles and build what would be our perfect SEMA Grand National? So we got several categories to choose from. We get 2 bonus features to add. Bonus elements can be anything that was present on a car that we just wanted to snag for ourselves and kind of mix and match and build it. Dev, I'll start off with you. On the engine category, what would you choose?
So we're pulling from each car.
Exactly.
Okay. Because at first I was going to say I'm going to put a Watts Performance engine in there.
There it is.
But if I had to choose between the two that's existing right in front of me, I'm going to choose the Duttweiler Ring Brothers engine to put in there. I got to keep it true to the V6.
All right. Transmission. Are we going with that 4L80 or are we going with that 6-speed Tremec?
4L80 all day. I've got a 4L80 in my personal car. They work. They last long. You can easily manipulate the shift points on it. So a lot of my customers going forward, that's the transmission we've been going for the last 4 years. That's what we've been running in our cars.
Awesome. And you do all of that work at Watts Performance, correct?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Interior. Which one are you going with?
That's a tough one. In my mind, I can't take this engine and this body, like everything coincides with one another. But if I had to just pick a interior, I like the Dutch Boys interior better. I do. It's nice, it's stylish. The cage is just sexy.
All right. Body.
Dutch Boys all the way. The Dutch Boys body is just really nice, subtle, a lot of subtle details that went into the body that made it nice. We talked about the bumpers. We love spoolful, but no spoolful bumpers. That was the first time seeing that. And have the spoolful bumpers. So everything in the back and the front bumpers, it was all one piece, really nicely done in a subtle way. And that's the way that it should have been built from the factory. It is really nice. That's very nice.
Wholeheartedly agree there. All right. Wheels. On the Ring Brothers, we have those HREs. On the Dutch Boys, we have that center lock design with the chrome lip. Curious to hear what you have to say on that one.
I would redesign my own wheels because my purpose would be different for the car. So those wheels, if you take the Ring Brothers wheels and put it on the Dutch Boys car, you no longer have the same essence of a GNXs. You know, you got a different type of build now. So, but also those wheels that's currently on there wouldn't align with my purpose for how I use the car. So we would have to go with a different type of wheel in order for it all to flow for my needs. And I don't
Okay,
know what that wheel would look like, but I would find somebody to build that special wheel for me.
very nice, very nice. Okay, paint. The quality of the paint there is top notch for both builds, but maybe specifically color, or if there was something that spoke out to you on the Dutch Boys or Ring Brothers build, what paint would you choose?
Both of those paint jobs were beautiful. So if I'm bringing something to represent a 2025 SEMA build, staying true to a Grand National, you got to be black. It has to be a black paint job.
All right. Now, here we get to have a little bit of fun. We're hopping into bonus elements. So, of everything that you've seen between these two cars at SEMA, I'm talking about the center mounted exhaust that comes out on the Dutch Boys build. I'm talking about the lift on the Ring Brothers build. What bonus elements would you like to snag from either of these two cars? And you have two options.
I would snag the lifts, put it on the Dutch Boy car. That's from an owner's perspective. We need that on every build, man. 'Cause you got to go up under there and do maintenance at a time. We can press a button, make the car go from the ground to raising it up 2, 3 feet in the air. Man, that's a must have from a mechanic's perspective. And then a second feature, which wasn't on either one of the two cars, but I would definitely put the Dutch Boys build on airbags. Again, just raising it up. Just the subtle things from loading it up on a trailer to, hey, there's a speed bump. Let me raise it up so I don't damage the front end of the car. I would have it where I could use it, and it would definitely be on an air ride suspension.
I'm hearing a lot of livability,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
it.
drivability. Absolutely. It's all about functionality and purpose and what are you really gonna do with it? Because once you it's one thing once you really look at it, but once you start driving it and you have to live with what you created, then that's a different story.
You know, that's definitely the type of builder that I want to build my Grand National, my Turbo Regal, right? Somebody who's thinking about those types of things because not only are we talking about what happens when you're in the shop, right? But I got to drive that thing once I get it back home, wherever I am. So
Hmm.
kudos. On my end, engine, I got to go with Ring Brothers. That Duttweiler engine is impressive. And like you said, just sticking to the roots of the Turbo Regal. Easy choice there. Transmission, also 4L80. I like these engines paired with automatics so we can stay within that boost range for every shift. I love to mow my own gears, but I don't know. I just don't feel like this is the type of car or engine that I want to be shifting my own gears in. Sure, it will be fun, but it'll be an automatic for me. On the interior side, ooh, it's hard, but I gotta go with the Ring Brothers build. Both of
Okay.
these interiors are sharp, but Interiors Unlimited did a better job of modernizing the interior while staying true to a Grand National. When you hop in it, it still feels like a Grand National. A lot of these elements are still immediately recognizable. On the body side, Dutch Boys, 100%. It looks like the thing is floating, and that's the best way we can put it. There's lots of custom touches. The fitment is just so clean. When we take a look at the front fenders, for instance, the way that the body line went forward across the front header panel instead of ending abruptly behind the turn signal light, like those are things that took hours upon hours to do in body work. But it's nearly unrecognizable to people who don't own one or know them intricately. And speaking with Michael, he just wanted the entire design to flow. So when you're looking at a side profile of it, you don't have any abrupt ends. And that's the type of thing that you just got to respect in your builders. So going Dutch Boys there. On the wheels, also got to give it to Dutch Boys. The center locks, I really usually don't care for them, but to go along with the body of it and the chrome lip just made it an easy win for me. So I had to go that way. For paint, I got to go with Dutch Boys again. I know Turbo Ts, they come in a variety of colors, but a Grand National, it should just be black. Okay, it should just be black. And there's going to be a lot of controversy for a V8 being in a Grand National, but is there any controversy for a Grand National painted a different color than black? Let us know in the comments what you feel about that. Bonus elements. GNXs has these Recaro Expert S seats. These are the same ones that are in Salvaggio Design's Grand National. And I think they're just the ultimate nod because they're more bolstered than the 85 to 87 Grand Nationals, but they have that similar profile and look that it's just, it's almost like they made them to be recovered for Grand Nationals. It has all of the adjustments that you would ever want. And looking at it from the side, it almost looks like a Grand National seat with more features. So I'd like to snag those. And then bonus element number two, it was a toss up between this and the lift because I really, really like that lift. Flush mounted glass.
Mm, I was
I,
my
I yeah, man, I've done it and it totally transforms the look of these cars. And I really wish Dutch Boys would have done this, especially since they went through all of the effort to streamline the body. These are the types of touches that you can do and still remain true to the design language of the original Grand National. And you're not going to run into any owner that's going to be bitter that you got rid of those window seals. None at all. So flush mounted glass for the win. If I could squeeze in a third one, it would definitely be that lift because that was chef's kiss. So, folks, we're nearing the end of everything. I definitely want to give Dev a chance to start off our closing remarks. So, Dev, tell us a little bit about your socials, what you're going to be working on. Curious to hear more.
If somebody needs support, the best way to get in contact with me is going to the website, wattsperformance.com. Got a contact link on there. Book an appointment. I'm usually out in the garage working, building the car. I work by appointment only. So just set up a Zoom call, set up a phone call, book me. I'll stop doing everything I'm doing to talk to you to get your Grand National right. Socials, main activity that you can find us on almost daily is our Instagram page. Instagram page is at Watts Performance. We use it to share stories. We use it to really share like the intricate details behind our builds. Facebook, Watts Performance Solutions. I use Facebook to let you know about upcoming events that we're going to be going to. I use Facebook really to connect with community and family. And I like to share problems too. You know, a lot of times on social media, we highlight the good things that's going on, but you know, we fail a lot too. You know, I'm not the only builder that fails, but I'll tell you, like, hey, we failed right here. You know, we have brand new engines that's leaking oil, and we got transmissions that we just paid $8,000 for that ain't shifting right. That happens. So those are some of the things we're going to be sharing in 2025. Our goal is always to launch a vehicle with no problems. We're getting better, but reality is it takes an extra 1,000 hours to get a car dialed in perfectly. Building the build is one thing, but dialing it in where our customers can enjoy it, that's a totally different thing. And then YouTube, Watts Performance Solutions on YouTube. Our YouTube, I like to show our drag racing videos. I like to show how to do some of this stuff. You know, I'm not going to show everything just because time hasn't gotten there yet where I show everything, but I do like to be able to share knowledge. And I want the more things that people know, the more likely we are to see these cars alive on the road. Another way to find us if you need support, I'm located in Carrollton, Georgia, and we also have a shop in Oakland, California. My partner, Nestor Surgery on Tony, and Big Greg, we're out there in Oakland, California. Also got a partner in Susan City, Lil Jerry out there. If anybody needs dyno support, tuning support, Oakland, the Bay Area, we got you covered. And also anything that you need out here in the Georgia, Southeast area, me and my team, Pops out here. Pops out there working on the Grand National right now. Got an incredible team out here in Georgia. Big Chris, Robert, Daryl. Man, we got a great team of experts out here that know and love these Grand Nationals. So for people that need Grand National support, my team, we got you covered. We treat everybody like family. We just love what we do.
Oh, well said. Looks like you got the U.S. covered coast to coast.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, for me, you all have probably already found my YouTube video, Crash and Burn, on Instagram, Crash and Burn _ and also Crash and Burn on Facebook. DIY repair content across any vehicle that comes across my garage. And just because I own 3 and I've restored 2, there's still more to come and there's still some more knowledge to share. But thank you all for following, for like, share, and subscribe this and both of our channels so we can keep bringing you some of this awesome content. Appreciate you all for hanging in with this so long. If you have any thoughts on these vehicles or anything that we said, just drop a note in the comments and let us know you're out there. But thanks again for hanging out with us, sharing some of your insight and wisdom, and looking forward to talking with you more.
Thank you.
All I ever wanted was a black Grand National.